Before we all explode, Madam Mayor, could we have a window open?
I think we've got one. I think a couple have been opened. Yeah. That one's open, isn't it? Okay, so we're going to move on to item 4, motion on car parking charges. So this motion has been received by Councillors Richard MacRae, Donna MacRae, Steve Carr, Barbara Carr and Elizabeth Williamson. Do we have a proposer? Thank you, Councillor Carr. Do we have a seconder, please?
I'll second that.
Thank you, Barbara Carr.
I reserve the right to speak.
Thank you. Would you like to speak?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. At the outset, Madam Mayor, I want to make it perfectly clear that this is not, and there never has been, a political stunt. No, it is not a political stunt. Now, I'll tell you why, Councillor Owen. It's nice we know where the Conservatives stand on this. This is councillors responding to the genuine concerns of residents and businesses, and which are substantial in number. I'm absolutely shocked by your outburst there, Councillor Owen. Clearly you don't support business anymore in the Conservative Party. Car parking charges were introduced in 2010 for council-owned car parks. The basis was 1 hour free, 2 hours at £1, 3 hours at £1.50 and £3 all day. In October 2015 it was agreed that no ticket would be required for any car park after 4 p.m. Monday to Friday, effectively creating a free after 3 arrangement. And I think the important thing there, after the leader's response to questions, is Monday to Friday was the arrangement. Free Saturday parking was also introduced at one main car park in each of the 4 main towns in the borough. In October 2023, a report came to Cabinet suggesting that a review of charges was now appropriate for the following reasons. Use of car parking was back to pre-pandemic levels. The cost to provide in the car parks was £294,000, with income generated of £255,000, leaving a shortfall of £39,000 met from the general fund. Due to investment in a new cinema and shopping restaurant complex in Beeston, the evening economy had grown, and it might be worth considering introducing charges up to 10 p.m. Well, you know, consider something is growing and then charge them so it actually reduces again. Not very clever. Efforts had already been made to reduce costs and increase income from permit sales, etc. Options were provided with a view to option 1, ensuring the cost of off-street parking is met through charges. Option 2, increasing income to ensure that service costs do not adversely impact on the general fund. The Cabinet chose option 2, which was estimated to generate an additional income of £284,700. Members of the public should be reminded that the Cabinet is made up of councillors from one party, Broxtowe Labour. Even the Tories, when they had a Cabinet, included councillors from other parties. New charges were implemented on the 1st of January 2024 without any consultation with residents or businesses. Of course, this could not have happened if it had been done under the normal budget process, which requires consultation. This council is not doing what it promised to do within its own corporate plan. Invest in local businesses, not all the things that we've already heard today, which are actually government funded, nothing to do with the council, and thriving town centres with the buzzing nighttime economies. Local Beeston businesses have contacted us to state that they have seen up to a 70% fall in business. Even non-independents such as Costa are saying business is much lower than it was before the 1st of January. How is charging up to 10 p.m. helping restaurants and the Arc Cinema attract new business? The number of comments I have seen by residents saying they now go to Showcase because they don't have to pay for parking is staggering. The free car parks operated by Tesco and Sainsbury's supermarkets are full of people who are avoiding paying the increased parking charges. This is driving business away from independence. A good example is the chemists on Chilwell Road, who are losing their prescription customers to Tesco Pharmacy because they can pop in for free. How long until the supermarkets challenge the covenants within their agreements around providing free parking? It would be hypocritical of this council not to agree any requests from them, given that we now charge. Car parking on residential roads has increased, especially around the Chilwell Road end of Beeston. This is causing great inconvenience to many residents. Car parking figures for January 24 reduced by 11,000 vehicles, February by 13,000, March by 13,000, April by 9,000. That's a staggering 46,000 in the first third of 2024. Footfall in all borough town centres is down 25%. A senior officer at this council has admitted that markets are not doing well because, and I quote, of the increases to car parking charges. And if anybody wants to see the email, I'm quite happy to show it them. You say you don't want people to subsidise car users, but you are happy for residents of the borough to subsidise a failing markets operation. You say efforts have been made to reduce costs, but according to figures online, the cost of staffing the car parks rose to around £162,000 in 2019-20 from a previous figure of £62,000 in 2016-17, and it remains at £133,000 in 22-23. Madam Mayor, we're calling for a review, and it sounds as though Councillor Marshall is going to agree to a review in what he said to the reply to his question. I'll remind him of that. A full review of all parking charges and a return to the free hour has to be the best way forward. Nothing will be acceptable to help our struggling residents and businesses other than a return to free parking for 1 hour. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Carr. Would you like to speak, Bob Carr?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yes, I would like to speak. As previously mentioned by my colleague and husband, Councillor Steve Carr, the decision to change the basis of the tariffs within the borough car parks was taken at the Cabinet meeting last October. Extracted from those Cabinet meeting papers was the following sentence. The potential uplift in income that could be generated from changes in parking tariffs will provide substantial additional resources as the council looks to meet its challenging budget gap for the general fund. I've got two issues with that statement. Number one, the word substantial. The Road Traffic Regulation Act of 1984 cannot be used to raise revenue through stealth taxation. The Road Traffic Regulation Act is not a fiscal or taxing statute, and using funds for the purposes outside the statute is not lawful. This applies to off-street parking in council's car parks, as the powers to charge are derived through that act. There is, however, some discretion to budget for a modest, and I repeat the word modest, surplus where reasonable. But I don't think anyone in this room could possibly consider that additional income of £284,000 per annum can be classified as modest. And it also says that you're meeting a gap. Well, actually, it's a shortfall in the general fund. And I'll quote again from the Road Traffic Act. Car parking charges cannot be used for any purpose outside of the objectives of that act. And I'm sure the Cabinet members from the previous Cabinet were aware, as it was stated in the legal officer's comments, that car parking charging can only be used to offset certain things, including the costs of actually running the car park. Section 55, subsection 4 of the Act sets out purposes for which the modest surplus can be used. Firstly, provisions and maintenance of off-street parking and improving open spaces such as parks. And then there are two things that you can use it for, but we don't pay for those. That's public transport and highway improvements, which we wish we could pay for with all the potholes. You can't use it for anything else. So I'm wondering what the Deputy Leader was thinking when he said to the Nottingham Evening Post, and he's been quoted several times, "We believe that these changes to our car parking charges will allow the council to invest in facilities and prevent cuts to jobs and services, which means we can deliver on our commitments to keep our town centres clean, invest in new leisure facilities like changing places toilets, and help our wider ambition of providing new leisure facilities." First of all, the changing places toilets in the square have been paid for, but obviously there may be others being considered. And the other two things cannot legally be funded by any surplus from parking charges. So does he really believe that increasing these charges can help meet the shortfall in the general fund, when actually any excess should be ring-fenced and kept apart and only used as previously stated? I also note that within the capital budget for 24-25, the council intends to borrow via prudential loans for the purposes of, number one, pay and display machines, £36,000, car park resurfacing, £30,000, and security for parks, £28,000. All things that could be paid for from this income, but they want to borrow the money. I'm assuming, I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt, they've chosen to borrow the money in lieu of future excesses, but that still only comes to £94,000, not the expected surplus of nearly £250,000. Also, there is no evidence of ring fencing that I can find. Within the revenue budget for 24-25, they've included the increase in charges at a figure of 270,000, resulting in a net decrease in expenditure of 270,000. No specific holding account seems to be allocated, and the money's just being shown as being available to spend on anything. So to sum up, Madam Mayor, can we have confirmation that the previous Cabinet really grasped the legal requirements of this statute, or has the decision left the Council open to judicial challenge? Furthermore, can local residents and business owners be provided with clarity over how the potential surpluses are going to be or are currently being used? And the decision, finally, I'll say, was flawed. It needs to be reviewed as quickly as possible, with a mind to go in some way to reversing the harm
You've got 30
that has been
seconds
done
left, Councillor Carr.
to our town centres, our independent businesses and the reputation of this council. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Councillor Richard MacRae, would you like to speak?
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, fellow councillors, Madam Mayor, I stand before you this evening as a concerned member of our community, deeply troubled by the recent changes to car parking charges and the removal of the 1 hour free parking policy in our borough. These changes, though perhaps intended to address financial concerns or streamline operations, have had a significant and adverse impact on our local businesses and the vibrancy of our high streets. Over the past months, I've spoken with numerous business owners, employees and residents who have all expressed their dismay at the consequences of these new parking policies. It is with their voices in mind that I bring this issue to your attention. Local businesses are the lifeblood of our community. They provide essential services, employment opportunities and contribute to the unique character of our borough. However, the recent changes in parking charges and the elimination of the 1 hour free parking have severely diminished footfall in our town centres. Customers who once popped in for a quick purchase or errand now find it less convenient and more costly to do so. This change in behaviour is having a devastating effect. Some businesses have already been forced to close their doors permanently, and others are struggling to keep afloat, with one noticeable establishment announcing it will reduce its opening days due to the significant drop in customers. The ripple effect of these closures extends beyond just the loss of a shop. It affects employees, suppliers and the overall economic health of our community. The decision to remove the 1 hour free parking has discouraged casual shoppers and visitors. Instead of fostering a welcoming environment where people can enjoy a leisurely stroll through our high streets, we are seeing empty pavements and vacant store windows. This is not the thriving community we envisaged for Broxtowe. I urge the Council to reconsider these parking policies. We must find a balance that supports both the financial needs of the borough and the economic viability of our local businesses. Reintroducing the 1 hour free parking could be a lifeline for struggling shops and a step towards revitalising our town centres. In conclusion, the impact of the recent changes of car parking charges is evident in the declining fortunes of our local businesses. By addressing the issues and making thorough adjustments, we can work together to restore the vitality and prosperity of our high streets. Let us support our local residents and create an environment where businesses can thrive once more. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you. Councillor Williamson.
Madam Mayor, councillors, ladies and gentlemen. I stand before you as a councillor deeply concerned about the recent decision to remove the 1 hour free parking provision. For many years, the free parking initiative has been a lifeline for our local businesses. It has encouraged shoppers to visit Eastwood, supporting our local economy by making it easier for residents and visitors alike to access our shops and services without the burden of parking fees. Since the removal of this provision, we have seen a noticeable decline in footfall, which has had a devastating impact on local business. In Eastwood, we currently have 21 empty shops, which seems to me to be lower than the 88% occupancy figures reported to a cabinet meeting recently. While speaking to businesses about the petition, I've been made aware of 4 further businesses which will be closing soon, with another 2 seriously considering closure. Small independent businesses are the backbone of our community. They are run by local people who invest their time, money and passion into our towns. Indeed, your MP, Darren Henry, recently spoke in Parliament about the importance of our high streets and the need for local authorities to provide accessible and affordable car parking to support the town centres. Businesses rely heavily on a steady flow of customers, many of whom used to pop into town during their lunch breaks or for a quick visit, knowing they could park for free. That steady flow of customers is no longer there. In fact, some shops do not see a single customer walk through the door all day on some days. The removal of the free parking disproportionately affects our most vulnerable residents, the elderly, parents with young children, and those with limited mobility. If the shops are forced to close, there will be nowhere for residents to go to meet people, buy what they need, or just go for a wander, leading to more social isolation and reduced access to essential services. The economic impact is clear. Businesses are reporting a significant drop in sales, which will lead to job losses and even more shop closures. The decline is not just affecting business owners. The whole town is feeling the strain of reduced employment opportunities and loss of community spirit. Eastwood has been left behind for years as regards to investment, and we are now paying the price. Therefore, I urge this council to reintroduce the free 1 hour parking scheme. This small significant gesture will go a long way to help restore the vibrancy of our town, support our local economy and ensure that Eastwood remains a welcoming and accessible place for all. Please let's work together to find solutions to benefit our whole community. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Land.